as the world prepares for World War III, it seems, the second blood moon Purim eclipse will appear in the sky next week, Michael Snyder reports. More signs in the skies and the moon and the stars and the sun. There sure have been a lot of signs in the heavens lately. For example, less than a week ago, there was a very rare alignment of 7 other planets in our solar system on the same exact day of the argument in the Oval Office between President Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky. That should have gotten a little more attention than it did. Next week we will witness a sign in the sky that I believe is even more important. It could be possible that God is trying to get our attention. If so, the vast majority of the population does not seem to be listening. At various times throughout human history, blood moon eclipses have been associated with war. When I asked Google AI about this, I got the following response. A lunar eclipse during the siege of Constantinople in 1453, that was in May 1453, and a lunar eclipse in 413 BC are examples of eclipses that influenced history and were associated with war. Interestingly, the blood moon eclipse that occurs next week falls during the biblical festival of Purim, and the biblical festival of Purim is the only biblical festival that was actually created as a result of an armed conflict. In the book of Esther, God miraculously delivered his people from literally being annihilated from all lands within the Persian Empire. Today, Persia is known as Iran. So next week we will have a blood moon eclipse, which is associated with war, on the same exact day of the only biblical festival that was birthed out of an armed conflict. That is pretty amazing, but the story does not end there. There was actually a blood moon eclipse during Purim in 2024, and there will be a blood moon eclipse during Purim in 2025, and there will be a blood moon eclipse during Purim in 2026, 3 years in a row. And all of these eclipses are occurring during a season of war. What are the odds of that? On October 7th, 2013, Hamas invaded Israel and the season of war in the Middle East begun. And just a few months later, we witnessed the first blood moon Purim eclipse. In 2024, the first day of Purim was from sundown on March 23rd to sundown on March 24. The second day of Purim was from sundown March 24th to sundown March 25th. It was on the second day of Purim in 2024 that the first blood moon Purim eclipse happened. This year, the first day of Purim begins when the sun goes down on March 13. On the night that begins on the evening of March 13 and ends the morning of March 14, you will be able to witness a mesmerizing blood moon eclipse. In March 2025, North America will experience a mesmerizing celestial event, a total lunar eclipse that will turn the moon into a stunning blood moon. Lunar eclipses are always an exciting spectacle for sky watchers, but this one promises to be especially captivating. Unlike solar eclipses, which require protective glasses, lunar eclipses can be enjoyed with the naked eye, making them accessible to everyone. Amazingly, there will be another blood moon Purim eclipse in 2026. Next year, the first day of Purim goes from sundown March 2nd to sundown March 3rd, and that is when the third blood moon Purim eclipse will occur. Could God be trying to tell us that these 3 years are a season of war? Without a doubt, 2024 was a year of war, and now it appears that the conflict in the Middle East is about to go to a whole new level. Hamas is refusing to release the remainder of hostages, and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is warning Hamas of consequences they cannot imagine if that does not happen soon. Prime Minister Netanyahu vowed Monday that Israel will not stop its campaign in Gaza until Hamas is completely dismantled and all hostages are returned, warning the terror group of consequences they cannot imagine if captives are not released. At the same time, the IDF continues to relentlessly go against targets all over Syria. Now, because the mainstream media has been very quiet about this campaign, most people in the Western world don't even know that it's going on. But the really big event will be that going after Iran's nuclear program, and once that happens, everything will change. And it appears that Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu are prepared to take action sooner rather than later. Last month, Trump revived his maximum pressure policy against Iran. Trump reiterated that Tehran cannot have a nuclear weapon and vowed to be very tough if the country continues its current nuclear pursuits. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu also indicated that with U.S. support, Israel would finish the job of preventing Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons. After a meeting with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Netanyahu and Rubio both emphasized their alignment with Trump's administration in blocking Iran's nuclear ambitions. Meanwhile, the Russians continue to go against Ukraine. Ukraine's Air Force said Russia is going against them into the country in the latest attack. Russian troops gobbling up more territory on a daily basis, it seems, and the more territory the Russians control, the more leverage they have. The Trump administration is expecting the Russians to make territorial concessions and allow European forces in Ukraine once a ceasefire deal has been reached, but both of those things will never happen. In fact, we just got more confirmation that the Russians will never permit European troops on Ukrainian territory. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko, a close ally of Putin, warned that the Kremlin will never accept a European troop deployment in Ukraine as Moscow and Kiev continue to maneuver for advantage in U.S.-sponsored peace negotiations. I know a lot of people are hoping for a peace deal, but a peace deal would require tremendous concessions on both sides. The Russians figure that President Trump will cave in and give them what they want, but that is not going to happen. And President Trump is anticipating that the Russians will make significant compromises, but that isn't going to happen either. And in the end, I believe that President Trump will become very frustrated with the Russians. On the other side of the globe, the Chinese are warning us that they are ready to fight until the end. We're talking about the trade tariffs, the tariffs the U.S. has put on China as well. In a direct threat to Donald Trump, China's representatives in America said, if war is what the U.S. wants, be it a tariff war, a trade war, or any other type of war, we're ready to fight until the end. The U.S. has hit China with 20% tariffs in response to what the White House considers to be Chinese inaction over the flow of fentanyl, a synthetic opioid, into America. For now, our conflict with the Chinese is an economic one, but Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth insists that the U.S. military is prepared if it goes beyond that. He says we're prepared, Hegseth said on Fox News, Fox and Friends, in response to China saying it was ready to fight any type of war. Those who long for peace must prepare for war, Hegseth said, stressing it was important to be strong. And lastly, I want to mention North Korea before I end this. The North Koreans just conducted test launches of 2 missiles that are capable of carrying nuclear warheads, and Kim Jong-un is stressing the need for his country to be at full preparedness for nuclear war. And as you can see, we are all in a season of war, and that is what we have been through so far. What we've been through so far is not even worth comparing to what is eventually coming. How many times have I warned my readers about war in the Middle East and war with Russia and war with China? And now it seems we're coming close to this. Somehow, during the season of war, someone has arranged for blood moon eclipses to occur on Purim for 3 years in a row, in 2024, 2025, and 2026. You can stick your head in the sand and pretend that all these signs don't mean anything if you want, but none of us will be able to escape the cataclysmic events that are ahead. This is by Michael Snyder on End of the American Dream. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. This is by Michael Snyder and about the author. Michael Snyder's new book entitled Why is available on paperback and for Kindle on Amazon. He's also written 8 other books that are available on Amazon, including Chaos, End Times, 70 Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of the Future of America, The Beginning of the End, and A Living Life That Really Matters. When you purchase any of Michael's books, you help to support the work that he's doing. You can also get his articles by email as soon as he publishes them by subscribing to his Substack newsletter. Michael has published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and the Most Important News, and he's always freely and happily allowed others to republish those articles on their own websites. These are such troubled times that people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, we strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.